Gentlemen, welcome to our channel. If you, like me, do not support adultery and believes that cheaters should be fully responsible for their actions, then like this video and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Well, let's get started. Last week, a shocking revelation destroyed the harmony in my once happy family. As a 45-year-old man, I have spent the last 15 years married to my beloved wife, Amy, who is also 45 years old. While I hold a prestigious managerial position in one of the companies, Amy devoted herself to housekeeping, although in her younger years she worked in a plant nursery. Together, we gave birth to two beautiful daughters, Emma, who is now 13 years old, and Ella, who is 11 years old. Our family has always been a source of joy and satisfaction until there was an unexpected turn associated with the capabilities of our smart TV. It is unknown how I managed to uncover the truth about Amy's betrayal, which hung like a dark cloud over our previously happy life. This event, accomplished with the help of our TV, plunged all of us into a state of disbelief and fear. On the birthday of John, our friend, we wanted to make him special, despite the fact that he has been living in another country for the last few years. Therefore, at midnight, we organized a video call to congratulate him on his birthday. Together with my wife, John, his wife, and me, we exchanged warm wishes and talked about work and life. Since John had no other plans for the evening dedicated to his birthday, we decided to virtually chat and relax. To improve the experience, his wife came up with the idea to broadcast a WhatsApp video call in Chromecasting to the TV so that we could all relax and enjoy communication together. We spent time together calmly and with pleasure. Amy and John's wife became very close friends, and we often spent time together when they lived in the same city. Amy easily connected her phone to the TV, using an already installed and working application for remote control of the TV. Drinking invigorating beer and snacking on delicious snacks, we enjoyed the joy of our virtual holiday. Over time, Amy began to feel a little dizzy and eventually fell asleep on the couch. Meanwhile, John and I continued to talk, and his wife also went to bed. After about 15-21 minutes of conversation, the call was suddenly interrupted due to internet problems. To my surprise, my wife's WhatsApp screen materialized on the TV screen. Just as I was about to dial John's number, a notification caught my attention. There were more than 2,000 unread messages from a man named Lifeline, accompanied by a heart symbol. This unexpected message aroused my curiosity and gave impetus to further investigation. Intrigued, I clicked on the profile picture and saw that it belonged to Matt, her childhood friend. After our marriage, I repeatedly ran into him because of his close relationship with my wife. They were not only neighbors but also school friends, and there was even talk that a romantic relationship was possible between them, but these assumptions never came true. According to my wife, she never considered Matt as a potential partner. Moreover, Matt was not interested in women. Currently, Matt is still without a mate. Despite the fact that my wife convinced me that their relationship was purely platonic, a new message suddenly appeared in their conversation. "Baby, I really miss you." This immediately caused me concern, and I felt that I needed to conduct further investigation. With a sinking heart, I carefully opened the chat with Matt. It soon became clear that my wife was talking to him on the phone during our video call. Unfortunately for Matt, my wife unexpectedly fell asleep without kissing him goodnight, which explained the flow of messages in her WhatsApp. Noticing the blue check marks on the sent messages, he began to express his feelings. "Are you okay? It's hard for me to fall asleep without your goodnight kiss. Moreover, I can't stop thinking about today's class. My God, you were incredibly impressive today." Such a conversation does not seem usual for close friends. In this case, I was finally convinced that their relationship goes far beyond just friendship. Scrolling through the history of their chats, I came across numerous candid messages that they exchanged almost every night. Candid photos and videos periodically appeared in the chats, from which goosebumps ran down my back. Despite the feeling of emptiness, a huge curiosity forced me to unravel every detail of their communication. While my wife was sleeping peacefully on the couch, I painstakingly looked through the explicit materials that she exchanged with her secret lover. Candid photos and videos periodically appeared inside the conversations, which further increased my anxiety. Despite the emotional shock, I could not resist delving into the intricate mystery. Not knowing how to take screenshots from the TV screen, I decided to take a picture of the screen with my phone. As a result of studying the evidence presented in the 5 photographs, I reached the point where I could no longer ignore the truth. My main goal has shifted to understanding the causes and consequences of this situation. Frustration bubbled up inside me, asking for a way out, but I didn't know how to resist it. The clock struck 2 in the morning, and the countless portions of beer and whiskey that I drank exhausted my strength, and I had no choice but to mindlessly replay their conversation in my head. The broken fragments of my failed marriage appeared before my eyes on a huge TV screen, overwhelming me with a wave of emotions. She told her lover all the intimate details of our time together. Moreover, after each meeting, she recounted these intimate moments to him, apparently trying to compensate for his emotions. This revelation caused me complete disgust. Deciding to find out when it all started, I continued scrolling through the page, but found only an endless void that was getting darker with every step. By this time, the messages from Matt had stopped, and an uneasy silence enveloped the house. It felt like I was trapped in a chilling nightmare. To make sure that I wasn't imagining or hallucinating, I quickly reached for the pillow next to me. As I continued scrolling through the page without any particular direction, Amy abruptly woke up from her dream. The sleepy expression on her face quickly turned to panic when she saw her 2 separate lives unfolding on the TV screen. In a hurry, she snatched the remote control from my hands and quickly turned off the TV, as well as disconnected her phone from it. I just stared at her in complete disbelief, unable to understand what was going on. I saw her open her WhatsApp chat, quickly look through messages from her lover. Closing the application, she took a deep breath, which clearly indicates her humility. It dawned on her that I was aware of all the details. She gently took my face in her hands and moved closer, desperately begging, "Darling, I have to explain everything. Please just listen." Meeting her gaze, I replied, "Okay, let's talk." Her surprise was palpable. She expected anger and my unwillingness to listen. Maybe if it hadn't been 2:30 a.m., but 2:30 a.m., my reaction would have been different. I was on the verge of losing consciousness, primarily because of alcohol, but also because of the horrifying truth that was unfolding right in front of me. I begged, demanded an explanation. She formulated her thoughts with difficulty, and after hesitating said, "Well, you know what? It doesn't matter." I cut her off, stopping her attempt. It was obvious that she understood that she had brought trouble on herself. Confused, I clumsily headed for the bedroom. She followed. Turning to her, I slammed the door shut, telling her to stay away. I heard her knock on the door several times, but I passed out quickly. When I woke up the next morning, I felt a heaviness in my head and hardly remembered the events of the previous night. Trying to relieve. When I left the room, she hurriedly came up to me, causing a surge of unpleasant memories of the previous night in my head. Despite her attempts to hug me, I politely asked her to keep her distance. With tears in her eyes and a devastated expression on her face, she fervently convinced me that I had misunderstood the whole situation. I ignored her presence and went to the refrigerator in search of a bottle of water, but she kept pestering me, insisting that my reaction was exaggerated. According to her, this man was just a friend, and there was no physical intimacy in their relationship, only harmless flirting. I was not ready for a conflict and became more and more upset because of her weak excuses, forcing myself to raise my voice in disbelief. "Really? Who sends explicit photos to their male friends, and why this excessive flirting? Shouldn't he have no interest in women? How is he suddenly attracted to your intimate areas?" Since it was Saturday morning, I was relieved to realize that my children were not at home. They were spending the summer holidays with my parents that week. I stared at her, silently demanding an explanation. My emotions were in complete turmoil, and I desperately wanted to find out the truth, despite the fact that I understood what a shock it would lead to. I wanted her to confess every last detail of her actions, but every time she opened her mouth, a wave of nausea washed over me. I clenched my teeth, desperate for her to speak, but I was silent as soon as she opened her mouth. I understood that I was being unreasonable, but how else can you react to the fact that a person revealed a 15-year deception and realized that his entire marriage was fictitious? In one motion, I drank a whole bottle of water, then demanded that she tell me all the details from the very beginning. Otherwise, I would meet her deceived lover and arrange a brutal spanking. This time, instead of hiding or begging, she decided to finally tell the truth. She admitted that she and Matt had a romantic relationship from the very beginning. Their physical relationship began in their school years and continued all these years. But Matt was a passive person and openly admitted to Amy that he was unable to provide financial support. To shed light on Matt's biography, it should be noted that he did not graduate from high school and never earned money on his own. His parents owned several properties in the suburbs, but the income from renting them out allowed them to cover only basic expenses. During my visits to Amy, I had the opportunity to meet his parents several times. It became clear that they were genuinely concerned about Matt's lack of motivation and urged Amy to direct him to the path of employment or entrepreneurship. By all accounts, everyone except Matt himself was genuinely worried about his future. Now, returning to the main topic of conversation, Amy admitted that she repeatedly broke off her relationship with Matt because of his constant problems with obligations. But oddly enough, he always managed to charm her and bring her back into his life. Surprisingly, Matt didn't object to Amy having romantic relationships with other men, even though he had never started a relationship himself. Before we started dating, she had several previous boyfriends, which, although not the norm, did not seem to me quite unusual. I wondered what kind of person could engage in such behavior. Probably lazy, I thought. Curiosity got the better of me, and I asked why she didn't marry one of them, given their obvious closeness. To my surprise, she told me that her decision was due to the fact that Matt would not be able to provide her with the lifestyle she wanted. In addition, Amy herself did not have a stable job and did not strive for a successful career that would allow her to be the main breadwinner. Therefore, she preferred to rely on financial support from others and lead a double life. Left with the last question, I couldn't help but wonder if these children were mine. I doubted that the children belonged to me, despite her insistence. My skepticism remained, and she offered to do a DNA test to dispel my doubts. She said she was afraid to have children with Matt because she was afraid that if I found out her secret and left, he would not be able to raise them, even if he wanted to. Mixed emotions overwhelmed me when I found out that the children were really mine. Faced with the current situation, I warned her to leave our house, otherwise I would reveal her truth to everyone, including our daughters. Despite their youth, they had enough intelligence to understand the gravity of the situation. She begged me, there was desperation in her voice, to keep this secret from our daughters, fearing their possible anger and disrespect for her. I replenished my water supplies, collected several empty beer bottles, and closing the door behind me, retired to my room. Sitting in front of my laptop, I didn't look up from the screen for more than an hour. Uncertainty clouded my mind. I didn't know what to do next and who to trust. The weight of truth gnawed at me from the inside, causing a feeling of suffocation. After finishing the last drops from the beer bottles, I left the room, ready to face what lies ahead. I hurriedly took out my car keys and went to my relatives, who were about half an hour away from my house. Upon arrival, my mother-in-law greeted me with a warm smile, but her expression quickly changed when she noticed a blush on my face and felt that something was wrong. Feeling the urgency, she immediately called her father-in-law, who hurriedly left their bedroom and led me to a chair. My heart was pounding uncontrollably from excitement and sweat in my chest. I told them that I couldn't think of a better way to deal with the situation that had arisen and began my story, telling all the details. When I discovered the unpleasant truth, my throat went dry and my body temperature rose. In the midst of my words, there was a sharp knock on the door. To our surprise, it was Amy. She burst into the house, demanding my immediate departure. Insisting that it was her own business, she categorically demanded that we deal with it alone, without involving her parents. The following hours turned into a whirlwind of violent emotions. I reproached her for betraying me for 15 years, and she blithely dismissed it as a fleeting relationship that had no meaning for her. Then she gradually started pointing the finger at me, considering me responsible for her strained relationship with her parents. In response, I began to defend myself, trying to explain my innocence. To my surprise, my mother-in-law supported me and scolded her for the accusations. But all this led to emotional exhaustion. and I spent the whole weekend quenching my sorrows in alcohol, periodically losing consciousness and replenishing my stomach with new portions. Monday came, and I reluctantly dragged myself to work, feeling disoriented and completely drained. In the office, I started searching the internet for divorce lawyers and eventually arranged a meeting with one of them. When I got home, I immediately noticed the absence of some of her things, which allowed me to assume that she came to us while I was not at home, packed her things, and left. I didn't ask about her well-being, but she contacted me herself and informed me that she planned to retire to the hotel, giving me the opportunity to calm down. Can you believe it? Did she really think that this question was so trivial that I could safely refuse it? Moreover, she inundated me with messages begging me to forgive her and promising to break off the relationship with her lover. A painfully long week has passed since that terrible day, and now it's Friday again. The days drag by painfully slowly. In anticipation of the upcoming meeting with the lawyer on Monday, the weekend will seem even longer to me. Trying to find a way out of a difficult situation, I was looking through articles on the forum. But apparently, my situation is quite complicated and difficult to resolve. Apart from my own worries, I am most worried about my daughters. How do I address them? Is it necessary to discuss this problem with them at all? I immediately want to apologize for not informing everyone, but I keep in touch with some of you through personal messages and comments. It's been 6 months since I first shared my story, and I'll tell you that it was a very unpredictable journey. On Monday, I had a meeting with a lawyer where I discussed my concerns about my daughters. The lawyer advised me to touch delicately on the topic of our separation from the children, trying not to burden them with unnecessary details that could harm their emotional state. In addition, he noted that given my wife's unemployment and the nature of her infidelity, I have every chance of getting custody. Coincidentally, on the same day, my parents contacted Amy to arrange for the children to return home from their current place of residence. They remained completely unaware of what was happening. Just when I felt exhausted and stretched out on the couch, exhausted from the tense meeting with the lawyer, she appeared with the children. Deciding not to touch on any sensitive topics in front of them, I retired to my room. When she entered the bedroom, I asked her to discuss her infidelity with our daughters. Overwhelmed with remorse, she burst into tears and begged me for forgiveness, constantly expressing fears that the girls would despise her. Honestly, she should have expected no less. Having betrayed her family for 15 years, what other consequences could she expect? According to the lawyer's calculations, it will take about a week to send Amy the divorce papers. This gave me a week to resolve issues with our children and my parents. When I finally informed her of my intention to end the marriage, her reaction was completely unexpected. She expressed concern about the possible emotional impact on our children, and I was puzzled by where her maternal instincts were all this time. I firmly told her about my decision and gave her an ultimatum. Within a week, she must resolve the issue with the girls on her own terms. If she doesn't, I've made it clear that I'll be the one to reveal the truth. Taking pillows with me, I settled down on the sofa in the bedroom and soon fell asleep. Throughout the week, I left home early in the morning and returned late at night. Closer to the weekend, she began to sob and wail often at night, sometimes with such force that it disturbed my sleep. Although I sympathized with her, I couldn't help but wonder how she managed to stay like this for so many years. What was going on in her head? She truly believed that she would never be caught. Despite the fact that she had many chances to end the affair, she continued it. All our intimate conversations, my weaknesses, my innermost secrets, she laid out for everyone to see her lover. How could I forget all this? On Friday night, she told me that she had a plan to talk to the girls the next day. I just nodded in agreement. On Saturday morning, when we had breakfast, she gathered the children and said that we needed to share something important. She said that I was offered a job transfer to another country, which means that I have to move for several years. I was caught off guard, and my daughters looked at me in surprise. In the presence of our girls, I sarcastically asked, "So does this mean that I have to vacate the house?" In response to this, she just rolled her eyes and motioned for me to be silent. Continuing, she suggested, "Well, if so, and the house seems too spacious for the three of us, we can temporarily move in with my parents and then find a smaller place." This explanation left the girls completely perplexed. Despite their young age, they did not lose sight of the fact that Amy was trying to pull off some kind of intrigue. The younger daughter boldly entered into an argument with Amy, pointing out the lack of coherence in her words, and the older one brazenly asked a question about the state of our relationship. "Are you going to get a divorce? What is it?" she asked. I looked Amy over with a steady gaze, silently urging her to be frank. With a resigned sigh, Amy finally collapsed under the weight of the truth. Turning to me for help, the girls were looking for answers, and I confirmed their suspicions about our upcoming divorce. I delicately explained that our compatibility had disappeared, which led us to this difficult decision. My eldest daughter went so far as to suggest that I might be having an extramarital affair, which caused Amy to cry. She clung to her mother's hand and began to question Amy about my loyalty. Unfortunately, instead of answering this question directly, Amy chose to hug her without offering any explanations, as a result of which both girls felt disgusted by our actions. I was angry at Amy's manipulative behavior and couldn't understand how she managed to turn the situation around so as to give the impression that I was to blame. In the end, I felt compelled to share the truth with my daughters, explaining what I had learned, although omitting explicit details. She accused me of breaking my promise. She said that I gave her the opportunity to discuss issues with the girls, so why didn't I support her when she started talking about my moving to a new place of work? The situation got out of my control, and I decided to fight Amy's manipulative behavior. I contacted my parents and mother-in-law, urgently requesting their presence. Conveniently, they all lived within a 25-30-minute drive, and an hour later they gathered at my house. I will never forget this hour. It seemed to me an endless nightmare imprinted in my memory. My daughters, overwhelmed with emotions, clung tightly to me, watching this terrible scene. Amy, trying to defend herself, went to great lengths, even to call me a dishonest person and accuse me of manipulating our girls against her. Her groundless arguments abruptly stopped when I revealed the existence of photographs depicting these conversations. The shocking sight struck my parents. I briefly described the situation to them, and they, like everyone present, were extremely outraged by Amy's disgusting actions. As she continued to cry and beg for forgiveness, I was overwhelmed by a wave of compassion. It was very painful to see her in such a vulnerable state, although she herself was to blame for the situation. Instead of exposing me as an enemy in front of our daughters, she could have chosen a more honest approach, for example, to explain that our love has faded. But she refused to take responsibility, leaving her unflattering truth open to everyone, including our children. I made it clear to her that we were continuing to divorce, and that our daughters would stay with me. With a heavy heart, I asked her parents to take her home. The girls even asked her to leave. To support and guide us through this difficult stage, my parents decided to stay with us for a few weeks. Undoubtedly, it was a difficult period, but I am grateful that we came out of it stronger. I started therapy for all three of them, and we have significantly improved our mental state. Currently, my divorce process is still ongoing. Amy has made a claim on my house, which I dispute because I firmly believe that she does not deserve any share. Interestingly, she does not dispute custody of our children. Amy's priorities became apparent when, during our confrontation, she promised to sever all ties with her lover. But her actions contradicted her words. She was caught visiting her lover's house after she moved in with her parents. This caused her siblings to shame her, resulting in her leaving home. Amy's parents also made claims to Matt for his participation in what was happening and informed his parents about the situation. As far as I understand, Matt's parents have stopped providing him with rental income. They believe that he should provide for himself. At the same time, Amy succumbed to alcohol and then to illegal substances. This lifestyle led her to communicate with bad company. Naturally, such a life led her to a corrupt love because no one would have given her a normal job. Our daughters completely cut off communication with Amy. I don't get hung up on thinking about her anymore. Now my main task is to raise my daughters and provide them with the best life. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.